As we all know, the internet is made of cats, so it was only a matter of time before I'd make a cat-related tutorial video. I'm Steve Tassi, the board game guy, and I'm here to teach you to play the cat rescuing tile placing game, The Isle of Cats. When you first get the game open, there seems to be a lot of cards, and the color scheme on them might be confusing at first, but don't fear. Many of the cards that seem to have conflicting colors are for the family or solo modes of the game and not for the standard mode. This tutorial is just going to teach the standard version, so you can leave the family cards, the color cards, the solo lessons, and advanced solo lessons in the box. All we'll be dealing with card-wise is the 150 card discovery deck. Let's get the game set up. Place the island on the table red cat side up, with space below it for the Oshax tiles and the treasure tiles, and spaces to the left and right to be the fields that get filled with cat tiles. Place the pirate ship marker on the 5 space of the turn track. Give each player a shipboard, make sure that they place it red cat side up. Each player also gets 1 permanent basket token. Have each player choose a colored cat to represent them on the turn order track. Place the cats in random order on the paw prints of the turn order track. The print at the top of the mountain is the number 1 spot, and so on down. Make a supply of fish tokens, extra basket tokens, colored cat pawns, and the deck of discovery cards within easy reach. Lay out the Oshax tiles below the island board, and create stacks of the common treasures below the Oshax tiles. The number of each treasure type is based on player count. Use 5 of each for a 2-player game, 8 of each for a 3-player game, and all 11 of each if playing a full 4-player game. Put any unused common treasures back in the box, you won't be needing them. Put the rare treasures and all the colored cat tiles in the discovery bag and give it a thorough mix. You are now set up to play. Each boat board has a round summary in the upper right corner and a scoring chart in the lower left corner. Both of these charts will come in handy during play. The main body of the board is the boat itself. Each boat is different in its configuration, but each one follows the same rules. There's a white line describing the outer edge of the boat grid. Within that line, the boat is divided into a grid of square spaces. The grid is further divided into rooms and corridors. A room is an area of squares marked with the same symbol. There are 4 different symbols that demark the rooms. 2 of the symbols, the parrot and the moon, are used twice on each boat for 2 separate rooms, while the wheat and apple core symbols appear in the single room per boat. The wheat symbol is labeled corn in the rulebook. Whether it's wheat or corn has no actual bearing on gameplay. It's just clearly a blade of wheat, not an ear of corn. Each boat also has 10 rats depicted on its grid. It's generally a good idea to cover those up during play. Rats can be covered by cats, Oshax, or treasures. Each boat also has 5 different treasure maps, 1 each of the 5 different colors. Treasure maps can be covered by any type of tile, but they only activate if covered by a cat of the matching color to the treasure map. Every round begins by reaching into the bag and putting cats into the fields on either side of the island. Draw 2 cats per player and place them in the left field. If you draw any rare treasures, put them down with the common treasures below the island and draw a new cat to replace it in that field. Once it's all cats, move on and do the right-hand field. Same thing, 2 cats per player. Once the cats are in place, each player takes 20 fish from the supply. Deal 7 cards to each player from the discovery deck. Players will select 2 of the cards that they have been dealt and pass the other 5 on to the next player. Then each player chooses 2 more, then passes the remaining 3 on to the next player, and so on. From the 3 that you are handed, you will pick 2 and pass that last unchosen card on to the next player, and they are forced to keep it. After doing all this, each player will have 7 cards that they have selected. Each card has a number in the upper left-hand corner, which is the cost in fish in order to keep the card. Players choose which of the 7 cards that they've selected that they want to actually pay for and keep, and they discard the rest. You can keep all 7 if you want, and can afford it in fish. There are several different kinds of cards to think about keeping. Number 1, the blue cards are lessons. They are additional ways to score victory points. Some lessons are public, so all players can score them, but others are private and just for you. 2. Green cards are rescue cards. These determine your speed, that's the number next to the boots on the card, and give you baskets to transport cats in. It takes 2 broken baskets to make 1 working basket. 3. Gold cards allow you to claim treasures. Some are for common and others will let you get rare ones. 4. The brown cards let you add an Oshax to your boat. And 5. Purple cards can be played at any time and do a variety of different things. Once everyone has paid for the cards that they want to keep, they discard the rest in a face-down pile so no one can see which cards have not been kept. Anyone who has a public lesson in hand places it face up in the center of the play area for all to see. If a public lesson says choose a color, the player who played it picks a wooden cat pawn and places it on the lesson. That lesson now applies to that color of cat. After the public lessons have been played, anyone with a private lesson in hand will place their lessons face down beside their boats. These cards are kept until the end of game when they are revealed and scored. Once the lessons have all been dealt with, you move on to the rescue phase of the turn. All players pick the green rescue cards that they want to play this round and place them face down in front of themselves. When everyone is ready, you reveal the cards that you've played and count up your boots. The player with the highest speed takes the top spot on the turn order track, and everyone adjusts accordingly based on the speed of the cards that they have played. Starting with the fastest player and then going down the line, each player may spend a basket token or 1 full basket's worth of played rescue cards to lure a cat from one of the fields. Cats in the left field cost 3 fish to lure out and put in your basket, while cats in the right field are a little more timid and they require 5 fish in order to lure them out. When you rescue a cat, you immediately place it in your boat. The first cat you rescue can be placed anywhere you like, but every cat, Oshax, or treasure tile after that first tile must touch a previously placed tile in your boat. The other placement rules are as follows. Number 1, diagonal does not count as touching. Number 2, tiles cannot overlap each other. Number 3, tiles cannot extend outside the edge of the boat. Number 4, tiles must match the grid squares exactly. Number 5, the walls of the rooms are just aesthetics. There are no rules preventing cats from being placed across the walls from one room to another. If you place a matching colored cat tile over a treasure map, you may immediately take a common treasure of your choice from the supply and add it to your boat. Once everyone has had a chance to rescue a cat, start back at the top of the player order and have them do it again. Keep doing it 1 rescue at a time until everyone has used all their available baskets, spent all their fish, or decided they don't want any of the remaining cats. If both fields are completely emptied of cats before all the played rescue cards have been used up, all the face-up rescue cards are discarded. You don't get to keep them for the next round. You played them this round, they're gone. If you still have rescue cards in your hand that you did not play this round, you can keep those. Once the rescuing phase is finished, we move on to rare finds. Starting with the player at the top of the mountain and moving down, players can take turns playing a rare find card or passing. Rare finds are the cards that let you take either an Oshax or 1 or more treasures from the central supply. Once everyone has played all the rare find cards that they can or want to, the round is over. Oshax are a sort of wild card. When you place an Oshax on your boat, you take a wooden cat pawn of your choice of color and put it on the Oshax. That Oshax tile is now treated as a cat of that color for the rest of the game. Move the pirate ship 1 space to the right, and if it is now on the hand space at the end of the track, the game is over and it's time to score everyone's boats and lessons. If the pirate ship hasn't arrived yet, then it's time to start a new round by clearing aside any remaining cats from the fields and replenishing them with 2 per player per field. When the last round is over, it's time for everyone to score how well they did. The score chart in the bottom left corner of your boat board will help you score your success. Number 1, score -1 point for every visible rat on your boat. If you didn't cover it, costs you a point. Number 2, score -5 points for each room that hasn't been completely filled. Number 3, score for each of your cat families. A family is 3 or more touching cats of the same color. Points awarded depend on just how big the family is. If you have 2 or more separate families of the same color, you score each of them individually. Number 4, score 3 bonus points for each rare treasure tile on your boat. Those are the bright golden ones, not the duller, more coppery, common treasure tiles. Number 5, reveal and score all of your private lessons. Each lesson card tells you on it how to score. And then number 6, everyone scores the public lessons. In the event of tie for points, leftover fish is the tiebreaker. If the tied players are also tied for leftover fish, then it's a shared victory with all the tied players winning. That's all there is to playing the standard version of the Isle of Cats. Now, I've played the Isle of Cats a few times now. I've played the solo version, I've played it as 2-player, and I've played it as 4-player. And an interesting thing that I've discovered is I'm not convinced that the card drafting element of the standard game is really worth the complexity and the time that it takes. I haven't yet played without it, but I think the next time that I play the game, I will. What I'll do is deal 7 cards to each player, and then they each choose which ones they want to pay for and keep, and which ones they want to discard, foregoing the drafting process entirely. Drafting takes time. It's a little confusing, especially to players who aren't familiar with drafting mechanisms or with the mechanisms of the Isle of Cats itself. And I don't feel that it actually adds a ton of strategic or tactical benefit to the game. There are people who will say that the drafting mitigates the chances of one person getting a really awesome deal of cards. And while that's true, the game also already has a mitigation factor for that, and that is cards cost fish to keep. And so the really good cards cost a lot of fish, which means that if your deal of 7 cards is all 3, 5, or 6 fish cards, you're not going to be able to afford them all. And if you can, you won't have fish left over to actually lure any cats onto your boat. So I think that that equals out the fact that you got dealt all the good cards. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with my assessment of the drafting system, or whether you think that drafting is absolutely crucial to playing the Isle of Cats. I'm Steve Tassi, the board game guy, wishing you happy rescuing. If you're like me, you love it when you see red icons with numbers inside them. So why not subscribe to my channel so you get one of those red icons every time I upload a new video?